Hello and welcome back, or welcome for the first time. Today we're talking easy care houseplants. Since I became a plant mom, I have watched a lot of plant YouTube, and I am sure that that's true for you too. It might even be why you're here. And there is a lot of information out there, and some of it can be a bit complicated and confusing. And I feel you. I am rather new too. And so I understand. You're just like, dang, I just want to know how to care for this thing I picked up at Trader Joe's, or that my coworker left her plant and I'm going to take care of it. I know, you just want to know. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to tell you my 5 easiest plants and how to care for them. So you pick up one of these, you're going to know how to care for it and not kill it. So let's go. So we're gonna break this video down into 4 parts. I'm gonna introduce you to the plant, and then I'm gonna give you water, light, and soil care tips, okay? Here we go. Number 1, the snake plant. Everyone says that the first plant you should get is a snake plant, and I completely agree. This is one of the first plants that I got. They are super easy, and as you can see, can be a real statement plant. They come in a multitude of varieties, but luckily for you, the care is all the same. So let's talk about it. Light. When it comes to light, your snake plant can endure low light situations. And now I am saying low light, not no light. Every plant needs at least some light to survive. The snake plant has been known to work in offices where artificial light is the main source of light, but it's not ideal and it won't thrive. It will sustain itself, but you won't see any new growth. You won't see it prosper, if you will. So no light is a no-no, but low light, okay. You can't stick it in a bathroom where there's no window and you leave the light off all day. It's not gonna work. But low light is totally fine. You will even see some growth in low light situations as long as it's not in the dark. So if you live in a place where you're, like in New York City, we sometimes have windows that face a brick wall or north facing where you just really don't get that much light. You can get a snake plant and it will totally survive. Water. When it comes to water, the snake plants can go a long time in between getting a drink. I think in general, this is where people think plants are easy when they don't need any water or they need less water. And you can't forget about them. They can probably go at least a month without needing water, but they will eventually need you to water them. They, just like any other plant, will start to look sad. They will wilt, they will turn brown. So a month is good. You can go on vacation, you can forget it's there, and when you start seeing, when you notice that it needs some water, you won't completely kill the plant if you forget about it for a little while. But when you do water it, be sure to saturate the soil, like water it. You are rain, make it rain, pour it out. Don't be afraid to stick your finger down in the soil to get a feel of what's going on. If you've watered the plant and you feel like, I am trying to be a good plant mom, I should probably water my plants again. Before you do that, stick your finger down in the soil. If it feels damp at all, back away, sis. Do not water that plant. Snake plants like to dry out completely in between waterings. Wait until that soil looks like a crumbling desert, then water your plant. I have 4 different types of snake plants, all in different soil mediums and all in different potting situations. This one, for instance, is potted directly into this pot. It doesn't have a cache po, so there is no drainage. I have others that do have drainage. Like I said, they are all very similar and can be treated the same, but if you're going to put a plant, especially a snake plant, in a pot with no drainage, you have to let it dry out completely in between waterings. Because the water has nowhere to go, it just stays in the pot. So water a little less when you water it, still saturate the soil, but just not in the same way where if the water can fall through. I usually water to what I think is about half the size of the container when I finally do water, but I do leave those that don't have drainage. I let them go a little bit longer in between waterings. But when it comes to soil, a chunky medium is best, where it has some tree bark or orchid bark in the soil. It just makes for a chunkier, more healthy root system. But if you don't have that, absolutely regular potting soil is totally fine. This guy is potted in just a regular potting soil, and it gets medium light, and you can see that it's a healthy plant. Looks good, it's got new growth. So yeah, soil, go with what you know, use potting soil, but if you can, make it a chunkier mix. Next up, pothos. So just know that there are a couple of different types of plants that will fall under the umbrella of a pothos. But for you as a beginner, if you're in your local big box store or even a local nursery, anything you see that is vining and looks remotely like this, you can call it a pothos, and these same care tips will apply. Pothos are ubiquitous when it comes to houseplant. When people say houseplant, they mean a pothos. This is the plant that you will find in your office, in the dark corner of a shopping mall, in stores even, where there is literally no natural light. These guys are known to do really, really well in artificial light. In your home, a low light situation is absolutely fine for a pothos. Again, no light is not okay. Low light is okay. If you have a bathroom where you don't mind leaving the light on all day, you can absolutely put a pothos in there, and it will not only live, it will thrive. They just are the beastliest of all the houseplants. You can almost just completely ignore it and it will still grow. If you wanted to keep this plant in your office and don't really have space for the tendrils to grow, everywhere a leaf pops out is a point where roots can grow. So literally, if you don't want the vines, you can just stick it all back into the pot and it will find contact with the soil and grow a much bushier plant instead of a longer plant. The way I have this one living, you can see it's reaching for the light on this side because this is the side that the light gets. But you can also see that this piece back here, despite not reaching for that light, is still totally growing. The good thing about pothos when it comes to water is that they will scream at you once you've taken too long to finally give them a drink. They can go quite a while in between waterings. Like I said, they're just super, super, super hardy plants. Insanely drought resistant, so you can forget about them, but they will start to turn crispy. The leaves will get a little droopy. They will show signs of being sad when it's like, girl, please pay attention to me and give me some water. But again, you can go on vacation, leave the pothos, you'll come back, your pothos will be like, oh hey girl, welcome back. We can use a little water, give us a little drink, but they'll be totally fine. I would say again with this one, really as a rule of thumb with all of your houseplants, don't be afraid to stick your finger in the soil. Pothos, again, like to dry out in between watering, so if you stick your finger in there and there's any dampness, step away. Put the watering can down. Come back in a week or so. As another rule of thumb with pothos, more light means more water. In the heat of summer, at the height of summer, if it's July, your plant will probably want a little bit more water than it does in January or February. So bear in mind, more light does mean more water, but it doesn't mean that they need your constant attention. Now, when it comes to soil, again, I have 3 different plants that I would classify as pothos, and 2 of them are planted directly into plant pots with no drainage, and 1 has drainage. Guess what? They're all doing fine. As I said with the snake plant, a chunkier mix is better. You will get thicker, healthier roots, which will result in a more substantial plant. But if all you have is a bag of Scott's potting soil, grow with it. Roll with it, honey. Your pothos will totally survive. Next up, ZZ plants. ZZ plants often make the list of easy care houseplants for the same reason snake plants do. They will grow and you can totally forget about them. However, given ideal conditions, a ZZ plant will grow huge. You will often see them in hotels and retail spaces because artificial light or natural light, your ZZ plant will grow. You give it ideal conditions and it really will reward you by becoming huge. So light. Like I said, you will often see these in retail spaces. They will do fine with artificial light, but obviously the more natural light you give them, the better they will grow. This one I have sitting up by the window, but in a rather shady corner. And this plant just grows without me paying any attention to it. They are just super, super, super hardy, and with minor attention, it will grow. This wasn't here when I got this plant. This has grown since it came to me. Another good point about ZZs is if you buy it big, it will stay big. That's the good thing about the low light. If you have a low light corner in your home or just a dark home in general and want something that makes a big statement, buy a big ZZ, because with the low light, it might not thrive, but it will survive. So if you buy it big, it will stay big. Now, water. When it comes to watering the ZZ plant, you'll notice that it has really, really thick stems, and it also has very tuberous roots. And that is how it retains water. I honestly cannot remember the last time I watered this ZZ. I seriously couldn't tell you. And look, I mean, sis is good. Sis is looking happy. She's looking strong. I'm gonna water her after this because it feels like it's been a really long time. But they can go a long time without water. It's holding water in its stem. It's holding water in its roots. It's like, honey, I don't care what you're doing, I'm going to survive, okay? It's a make it or break it situation with the ZZ. They're like, I don't care what you're doing, I'm gonna take care of me. I would say again, this plant is a more light, more water. Not that much more because like I said, it has its own reserves of water, but if it's sitting in a super sunny, getting direct light spot, then you definitely want to give it a little bit more water. And this is another one. Do not be afraid to stick your fingers in the soil. The soil wants to dry out completely in between watering, so any dampness at all, back away. Now, I am not a fan of terracotta pots at all, but I do like terracotta for ZZs because they really don't like soggy roots at all. So the terracotta does a good job of wicking away any extra moisture in case I get it to be a little overzealous at plant momming. This ZZ is the only one that I have, and I have it just potted in regular potting soil. And by regular potting soil, I mean the soil you buy in a bag that has a little bit of perlite in it. And that's all this is in, and it's fine. I do think a chunkier, well-draining mix is better in general for most plants, but like I have said for the others, if all you have is potting soil and you just want to get started, don't be afraid to go with what you have. Follow those other tips and your plant will be totally fine. Next up is a plant that doesn't get on this list as much as it should, but it's actually very easy, and that is the rubber plant. Rubber plants, honey, so easy and also so pretty. Look how big and delicious this plant is. They are a bit more, in my opinion, of a stately plant, right? The pothos with its drooping vines and everything can feel a little boho, where this is like, no honey, I am upright and I am a plant, okay? I am here, get into me, but not as crazy as the ZZ, if you know what I'm saying. Light. When it comes to light, these do want a bit more light than the other plants that we've discussed so far. it probably won't do as well in a low light situation. It really wants at least moderate light. I actually had this plant sit outside for the summer where it got indirect sunlight, which, if you didn't know, being outside even in the shade is still going to be brighter than your brightest sunny window. Being outside and not have that glass in between your plant and the sun is just different. But so this one went outside, but even before it went outside, it always sat in a moderately sunny spot and was growing with no problems. This plant has given me zero issues in wherever I have sat it, but I do make sure that it gets at least moderate sunlight. Now, when it comes to watering your rubber plant, it is definitely a more light, more water situation. It can go quite a while in between waters if it is getting moderate light, moderate to low light. But if it is getting bright, direct light or is sitting outside, it definitely wants to be watered a bit more often. The soil does want to dry out in between waterings. So again, if you come out on Wednesday and sis is damp, leave her alone. Come back Friday or Saturday. That's in the summertime when it's getting very bright light. If you water it when it's inside, it's fall, like right now, maybe I'm watering this plant every week and a half, 2 weeks. You know, it's a bit more, you can really get your plant mom on, but if you forget about it, she's not gonna die. You know, she might drop a couple leaves on the bottom, but it's nothing that's gonna like totally ruin and kill your plant. Now, I have 2 different rubber plants. There are a couple of varieties that are very easily found in big box stores, but they all really can be treated the same. This one, although it looks like it doesn't have drainage, it really does. So I would recommend drainage. I would recommend a pot with drainage for your rubber tree. It really, really, really does not want to sit in soggy roots. So really go for a nursery pot, keep it in the pot that it comes in, or put it in a pot that has drainage because you don't want the roots to get too soggy. Although it wants to dry out in between waterings, when you do water, please saturate the soil. You are the rain. You are the weather for your indoor houseplants. So really give them a strong drink and then step away. Step away until the soil starts to look dry. Potting soil. I have this potted in regular potting soil. The other one that I have is still in the soil that it came to me in. Just like the others, chunky, well-draining mixtures are definitely better, but potting soil just out the bag will totally do. Like I said, this can be potted. You can put them in pots without drainage, but I highly recommend you go with a pot that does have some drainage. These plants really do not like to sit in water, so drainage is key. But like I said, it's so easy. I really do very little to this plant, and over the summer, especially when I put it outside, it exploded. So if you have at least some moderate light in your home, she'll do. Artificial light, probably not. Really needs some sun, but moderate light and you're golden. So finally, we have Monstera. I feel like I don't see Monstera on the list of easy houseplants that often, but it absolutely should be. Look at how big of a statement this plant makes. It's huge, it's beautiful. These leaves are like, honey, what? And there are so many different types of Monstera, and although some of them might have a little bit different needs, in general, they are very easy houseplants, especially the Deliciosa. The Monstera Deliciosa, when I talk about this, I'm gonna talk about this particular plant specifically. The Monstera Deliciosa does need a little bit brighter light than maybe some of the other ones on this list. Again, moderate light, very similar to the rubber tree, is what this guy needs. You can put it in lower light situations, but when you do, you'll end up with leaves that are smaller and lacking the telltale fenestrations that really make this plant really beautiful. If you're okay with that, a lower lit corner in your home or office is fine. Just know that you won't get such a statement plant. The more light, the more you will be rewarded when it comes to monsteras. Now, when it comes to water, monsteras are surprisingly drought resistant. You can definitely go on vacation and she'll be fine. It does tell you when it needs water. The plants, see how they're standing strong now. If they really wanted water, they would definitely show signs of being sad. There would be some yellowing of the leaves, but they can go maybe 3 weeks in moderate light in between waterings. More, better, obviously, but it's not super needy. The more light, the more water. If this was sitting in super bright direct sun, I would definitely need to water it more often. When you get a monstera, it is probably best to leave it in whatever soil it came to you in. It probably would also do better with drainage. I've had this for a couple of months now, and I have not bothered to change the soil, but I did leave it in its nursery pot. They definitely need drainage, so don't pot them into a decorative pot with no hole at the bottom. Again, just like everyone else, a chunkier, more heavily draining soil mixture would be best, but again, what they come to you in is probably fine, but if it comes to you for whatever reason, bare root, regular potting soil will do. But if you can throw a little bit of bark in there, I would go ahead and do that. Just like the others, do not be afraid to stick your finger in this soil. It does like to dry out, just like the others, completely in between waterings. And that is why these plants are considered easy. Let the soil get super loose, super dry, and then give your monstera a thorough and complete watering. You are the rain. Make it rain. Spread it out. I have 8 different types of monstera in the house, and I love them all and want more because they are so very easy. The Dubia, the Standardliana, I have all of mine potted in a rather chunky mix because I bought most of them on the internet and they came to me bare root and I had to pot them up. So I am speaking from experience that they really enjoy a chunky aerated mix. Don't jump into the monstera boat and go right for a Thai constellation or right for a Dubia, something that will cost you a little bit more money. Start with the Deliciosa, see how you like it, get to know what type of care it needs, because like I said, they are all in general very, very similar. But monsteras are great entry plants because, like I said, hardy, drought resistant, can handle low lights, all around easy plant. A note about all of these plants and humidity in general. None of these plants really require higher humidity levels in your home. If you have a humidifier for, your skin or your health, great. They will like to be near that humidifier. But if you don't and don't plan on getting one, all of the plants that we've talked about today don't require any extra humidity. Fertilizer is not something as a beginner I think you really need to worry about. Usually when you buy plants, they're coming from a nursery where a nursery was already fertilizing them probably pretty heavily. So once you get them into your home, you can probably go a year before you really need to worry about fertilizer. And in that year, you'll really get a feel for what type of plants you do well with, how they are acclimating to your space, how they're growing, what type of soil you want to use. Like, a year as a plant mom is a long time. So don't really worry about fertilizer when you first start collecting plants because they don't really need it. They have fertilizer from the nursery where they came from. Even if you bought them in a store, they came from a nursery and they don't need fertilizer. Now, if you're reaching the end of this video, you're like, hello sis, why didn't you mention cactus or succulents? And I will tell you why. People like to say that they're easy because they don't need a whole lot of water. And they get them, they sell them everywhere, and you get them and you put them on your desk. And honestly, that plant is just on a slow march to death. They need so much light. They're easy if you have a spot for them that gets hours of direct sun. Cactus and succulents' natural environment is the desert, where it is usually sunny and hot, and that is where they thrive. So they're easy if you have the right conditions. I also think that they can be a problem because, like I said, you get them, they're available everywhere, they're cheap, and you overestimate how little water the plant really needs. If it's not getting that optimal sun, like that bright hours and hours of direct sun, it needs so little water. And if they're sitting in your office under your office lights and it looks like it's doing fine and you water it every now and again, it's probably too much water. I have 2 cactus that you can see in my houseplant tour that I'll be sure to link that live directly in an east-facing window. They get a couple hours of direct sun in the mornings, and then from then on they get bright indirect light, and I water them once a month. And when I do, I give maybe a cup and a half of water, and they are growing. But it took me so long to get to that point to figure out how much water and how often. And now I'm saying they get direct sun every day for a couple of hours and they only need to be watered once a month. Imagine how little water the succulent sitting on your desk or in your bathroom needs when all it's getting is artificial light. So they are easy if you can figure out the right conditions, but you're probably going to kill a lot of succulents on the way. So if you want to risk it, give it a shot, but I'm telling you, you're probably better off with a snake plant or a pothos. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that it was super helpful. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them down in the comment section. If you want more in-depth, if you want more in-depth tips, again, please let me know in the comment section below and I can totally do another video. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
The snake plant? What you're talking
The whole
about?
time it's heavy.
Look, we want to see the plant.
All right, fine. It's heavy. No, don't say that. That's it.